That was a smooth transition to today. Really. Go on.
Good morning, Adrian. Hi.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I enjoy the sunny days, meanwhile, in Germany, the springtime. Since I'm a human and no bot, I need the sunlight.
Yeah, that will be one of the big advantages when we are all replaced by AI, right? And bots, because they don't care about those kind of things. We can stay home
Yeah,
then, and they do all the work for us, and we can just enjoy weather. Well, it won't be like this, probably, but yeah,
I
I
think
think.
they need a lot of electricity, so maybe also some of the sun rays.
But you love to cycle, so maybe you can be some form of human power plant for our
Yeah,
specific.
big batteries.
Yeah. So let's let's talk about a specific topic. Well, it's not that it's not new or something like that. So people discussing that all over the place. But let's reframe it in terms of leadership. And it is actually that one. Good morning. Let's talk about humans plus bots in the same company and what that means in terms of leadership. So I'm reading out loud my own comment. It's a great morning, isn't it? Yeah, but that's yeah, never mind. The point is, I think that we had 2025. In 2025, there was this was the dawn of AI actually. So this was where people realized ChatGPT exists, what it can do, what it cannot do. There was a lot of doubt, there was a lot of hype, there was a lot of everything. And I think that that year wasn't so there were so many ideas, so many visions of what it will be, that it was more chaotic than it actually was productive. Um, and I think what's different in this year is that we have now a form of stabilized version of AI. We know better how it works, what it is capable of, and what it's not capable of. And actually, it is a topic for me as a tech lead basically every day now. Not only in the products, but in daily life as well. So coordinating team with to use AI correctly, implement AI into software to make the software actually better. And there are so many aspects of it. And at the same time, I see more and more limitations, which are limitations which won't disappear, right? So I had yesterday the conversation with a with a mentee I was talking with in a tech lead area, and we came to the conclusion in that meeting that there is a limitation to the intelligence aspect. So the AI is not capable of doing things humans do, and humans aren't really good at the things the AI is doing, which brings us to the conclusion that we need to understand both worlds as good as we can and combine them to something which works together in harmony. So it is not a replacement for each other in the broader sense, but it is a replacement for activities. So humans don't need to do tedious activities anymore and can focus on high level things. That is how we see that in the tech space. Um, anyway, that is quite heavy in terms of leadership, because there is still a lot of resistance to that idea, that a machine shall do something which I like. There are people who say that I actually like the tedious tasks, so please don't take them away from me. I actually don't want to do the high level tasks. So when people say this, me, it is most often people who are in a space where they need to do high level tasks, and there are, let's say, stressed by all the little admin nitty gritty stuff, right? That you try to delegate away anyway. But if you are the person who is the delegating target, who is supposed to help you, and is doing a simpler task but repetitive, often and good in the case, and that is, let's say, in competition with AI, that makes it in a company environment an issue still. So people try to avoid it at all costs, right? So it's a little bit like, if we don't implement AI into our company, I don't need to worry about that. So it's a little bit what I want to say. How is it in your experience, in your fields? How is AI actually perceived? Let's frame it today as the bots. How are the bots perceived in the companies you're working with?
I think it's a huge bandwidth. It's depending. In younger companies like startups, everybody's using AI. Maybe also has created some bots and dedicated to the topic or to the purpose, to the job description. I think there are very few companies, at least in my hemisphere, who are using, let's say, a AI employee, so that they automated a bot or created a bot who is fulfilling a dedicated purpose. I talked to one guy. But he's a AI specialist and he has several AI employees, and he also created them that they can't overtake the whole company or do financial transactions by themselves or whatever. So he restricted them in their capabilities, so that they have to hand over their one portion of the work result to another one, and
But
I
is that
think
actually a employee then? So because if
yeah,
you say it's an employee, so I know that many people say I have AI employees right now,
yeah.
but is that an employee if you need to do the work in between them yourself? So they are not really employees, right? They are more tools.
Yeah, but he created them that they can hand over their partial result to the next then, like employees do, or like a team works together, or departments work together. I think that the bigger the enterprise is, the more restricted is the usage of AI, and I think it's also depending if it comes to automating or the automating several work steps in a process completely. If you have what's the English word for Gewerkschaft? The labor.
Yeah, I don't get to it.
Yeah. So and
The
yeah.
guys
So
you don't want to have in a company as an employer, right?
yeah, and yeah. So it's at least in Germany, I think, or in Europe, it's more or less in the
Union.
yes, the unions. Yeah, thanks. It's in the first stage of the development. What can be done? I think there are other regions in the world who are using it more excessively and more unrestricted. But yeah, I think it's a walk on the razor's edge. What you allow in an enterprise to do, and I think last time in our live session we also talked about this shadow AI when it's not restricted and everybody's using ChatGPT on his own phone or whatever to do some investigations business wise. And yeah, so yeah, long story short, I think it's a huge bandwidth, and I think that had also this EU AI Act, for example, and other restrictions are also not firing the evolution of the usage in German enterprises.
Enterprises, yes, but in smaller companies, I think it is a very common thing that it is. So especially when you get closer to the personal person, so the private person, then they go all in. I have the feeling that there are not many people who don't use AI right now. Mainly ChatGPT and things like that. There are some people on LinkedIn, you can follow them, and they talk about all the solutions they found which are usable in the sense of GDPR and these kind of things. Well, in my opinion, that's actually not the biggest, especially if you do it properly as a company. If you have a transparent line, the AI tools right now from America are usable. I think the issue is how we actually use AI. So the AI tools itself is not a problem. It is a problem how you use AI. So if you just throw in all the personal data of clients and you process it for no reason, that is definitely not allowed, right? Because there's no reason to do that. But that is exactly how it is used right now. And it is the people tend to say that I don't want to think myself anymore. I want to let the AI think for me, so I save time. So they basically throw everything inside there. That was one of the reasons why all the chat providers and GPT and those kind of people, they raised the context windows. Is not that, wow, it is a great feature to have that. It is, the reason is people are actually not able to really work with AI effectively. So I try to make a series a little bit about how you create or curate as an individual, as the starting point, as a team. So for example, in software development, we call that agentic work, right? So you have an agent, and the agent is capable of doing things which a normal tool isn't, and you need to integrate that alongside, but you need to integrate that as a team. So you need to have a curated space in between that. So going even to something like a RAG, where you have vectorized data of that in that amount that you actually need, it gets a little bit complicated, but that's the point. The process to work together, right, with AI as a team is much more complicated than just use it for yourself. So using it for yourself, my mother-in-law, they are all non-tech people. They all use ChatGPT, right? Say, I have solved this text issue solely with ChatGPT. That works for them, as long as they only work with them, right? So, but they don't curate any data. So it is a little bit like they start every time anew, very chats about an issue, right? They don't really work on, hey, I optimize that. I need to have a knowledge database. I don't need to prepare for something in a company. Then there are small companies trying to do that, but then it suddenly becomes extremely hard to do that, right? Because there is, so every app like ChatGPT is not made for this. There are tools like LangStack try to do that, to be the ChatGPT for a company, but it's not there yet, because there is no curation process, because the people think that, oh, I have transcripts, I have just go into a meeting, 1.5 hours, 90 minutes, 10 people speaking, 2 presentations, and just throw the transcript and everything into AI, and that's fine. Now AI knows about it. No, it doesn't. What you create is a lot of noise, but no knowledge at all, because you will create megabytes, or not megabytes, gigabytes of data, which is not really processed anymore, not curated by you. It is like after let's say 1 year or half a year, you just get a mess, right? And I think their leadership needs to start to just get a little bit to the topic of today, especially in the tech space. Leadership is a little bit too worried about, will my people adopt AI? I don't think the question is if. I think they already do, but as we spoke last time, it is in the shadows. They use it anyway. Do they adopt it in the form of how we would use it as a team? But what is that actually? And I think that is the biggest issue, is, first of all, understanding of AI in management and team dynamics is barely not, I would say it's not really existing. I don't see it anywhere. People don't really have a plan for this. Some people like Brian Finster, I will stream with him tomorrow. He is more into how to set it up, but he's a rarity, right? And I think their leadership needs to jump and say, guys, we need to get together to discuss that, how we implement that. What tools do we actually need? How can we implement that regarding policies? Have you seen anything outside of the personal space, like you mentioned, a personal person using it for personal employees or something like that, which he calls. But do you know that from a actual company, let's say SMB upwards, people using that kind of techniques?
I don't know one yet, and but this doesn't have to mean that no company is using it at this stage. So I don't have this 100% overview, and but. Coming to the leadership perspective or aspect in this topic is, I think, as mentioned last time, I think as a leader, it's changing something, but it's not changing everything. It's yeah, let's say pretty similar if you have an AI bot or an AI solution as a part of your team or a team member, and you don't give this AI the context of the prompt you are or the big overview in which context you are expecting a result or an answer. It's similar if you have a new employee, you place it in the team, he's sitting there and waiting, and then you throw over just a prompt and say, yeah, formulate an email to customer A regarding topic B. And you will get something, but if this employee doesn't have the context why he has to write this email to this customer regarding this topic, it's similar if you say or prompt to ChatGPT, for example, something. And ChatGPT doesn't have your context or your company context, the tonality or you are expecting, and maybe also it's a difference if you say it has to be a very strict business context with formal language, or it's more a little bit with humoristic aspects inside or whatever. And yeah, so I think in this case, AI is for the leadership. It's also a mirror, and you getting more transparent if you had good instructions to the team member or not.
Mm-hmm.
And AI
I think
is yeah, pretty true. It doesn't have to tell a fairy tale how great you are as a leader or whatever. And so you as a leader, you can get the mirror of yourself pretty fast.
I agree, and I always refer to the fairy tale is interesting. So it doesn't really tell you in the context of an employee who actually want to hear something like that, but it will start to make up things if you don't provide enough information, because the AI isn't able, so the LLM itself will always try to create a holistic answer. That is the purpose of it. So it is very hard to untrain that by prompting. So you can try. I'm experimenting actually for our product with that one. It's very hard. So it is not even deterministic, and every LLM is acting differently about that. It's a little bit of an issue. So so first of all, one ingredient is I need to create or have context about everything, right? That context doesn't simply exist because I write down a page and put it somewhere as a company. That's not enough, right? So there are dynamics in the team. For example, a team makes a decision, next week makes a decision based on the other decision, but there were changes. Then there's a new decision because something happened from above, and the team reacted like this, right? So the team context changes over time. There are let's say, decisions made based on circumstances. There are attitudes towards things, and there are things which are not very likely to have. And these dynamics, I call them vibes. Actually, I store this in vibe files for myself. It works for now very well. To actually get an idea of how things work. And it is not like a human can perceive it, of course. So a human will always be more effective in that term. But we try to create tools and integrate that into teams. And this is a leadership topic now. So someone in the company or some team needs to have the ownership of these contexts. And in my opinion, that only works if everyone is working on that one. It is not working if we say, yeah, there is a person who is the head of IT, head of AI for that company, and he's there once a week or something like that, and is try to update all the context. That doesn't work. So in fact, this is what I call curating. So you do something and you need to create it yourself. So instead of storing a transcript of a meeting, someone needs to sit down and say, okay, let's, with the help of AI, of course, because otherwise you won't get it in time, but get me this 90 minutes transcript, get me the most out of it, right? The most important aspects, but reduce them to some vectors, which I then can add to my vibe file, to my knowledge base, and maybe to concepts we have, to teachings, to learnings we have, to methods or SOPs we have, add them already and make that visible as a differentiator to other people. At best, what helped me as well is to create a form of summary per week, what changed in our context. So the team knows, we have now a underlying knowledge base, and this changed. So I am aware of that. The interesting part is when you do that, I haven't implemented that in larger teams right now. I've implemented that for a small one. What I saw is that by practicing that, the team does have a context now. The point is, we think always like, we had everything was fine before AI, and now we need to somehow get AI in reality is we weren't good at it before. So it's like AI is now a mirror, as you said. It is now reflecting, we don't actually have something like this. So let's do something with AI, and suddenly people know better about what other people in the same team are actually doing. And that is an aspect. So instead of one meeting is done, just forget it, you process it, and you provide the data in a summary at the end of the week, which is easy to digest. So these kind of attempts, I saw that on platforms like Confluence, like SharePoint from Microsoft, where companies try to have company blocks, and there was this information, but people tend to write informations down which are totally unrelated to the team. So it's more like you see the top-down info, what the executive is doing, and 3 level under the teams should be interested in that, which is not the case. So it is more like that. But with AI, you can actually have a form of living vibe for your team. So the team itself understands now what the team is doing, and is that aligned to the actual company goals, which is good for transparency, which is good at all, but it needs to be led. So which means that we need to have a culture in software development that comes close to the continuous delivery culture. And I'm a personal believer that this culture is the only actual way to do that, probably, because it's the only culture which invokes ownership. Ownership is the alpha and omega when you want to implement AI for teams like this. What do you think about this? Does it make sense to you when I speak about this for other industries as well?
I think so, but maybe you could explain this principles of this continuous delivery for the audience a little bit.
The continuous delivery aspect is specific. So in software development, we started back then with continuous delivery and suddenly ended in some form of what some people call big batch releasing, which means that you know that from software, for maybe games or something like that, that they release every half year an update, and you need to install the update or the new version. And continuous delivery, the idea of that is what, for example, tools like we use right now, Restream to stream, and you join Restream, and today you see, oh, looks different. There are new features. There's a button, oh, there's a new feature, you can use it. And it is suddenly there, even though it was already there before you were able to see it, because they so-called feature flagged it out, so you weren't able to see it, some others already. And when they say it's good, they activate it for everyone. So it is already in the integration flow before you actually can see it, so they can test early, they get early feedback on what they do. And the idea is that everyone is constantly pushing from the development machines to production. Basically, or let's say not necessarily to production, but to a stream which is close to production. That would be a better term to describe it, which means that everyone is constantly working in a sense that I am contributing to the actual product. I'm not contributing to fulfill a ticket that someone else is testing, maybe someone else is releasing in half a year, because the ownership is not really there, because you're only fulfilling a very tiny bit, and then you don't care about that anymore. But in continuous delivery, you basically, what the work you done today, you need to think, okay, it can be productive in the evening already, right? And that requires ownership, and need to invoke ownership actually, and a very mature way of working with things. So instead of saying that's not my thing, I hand it off to someone else, I take it for myself and say, I'm doing that, and if I'm confident, I push it. If I'm not confident, I ask for help, that we can push it together and fix it before it goes live. But the idea is to get it out, right? And that is the same with the idea of the AI. So if we have we had an important meeting right now, instead of saying it just was an important meeting, everyone tries to memorize that in their brains, or someone is maybe writing an email as a summary, which is rarely the case, and everyone is forgetting that, because we have it now as an email. People need to start processing and see this as a valuable thing. What can we take out of it, and what do we actively add to the knowledge database, and make that a topic for us, so that we can use it tomorrow or in half a year as source. This is what I mean by that.
Yeah. I personally think that companies will have to find their way how to deal with it. I think it for some companies, maybe older fashioned or traditional managed companies, I could suppose that I would suppose that they will declare one person to the head of AI, or head of AI release, or whatever, how you call it. If everybody can do adjustments in the AI tools, I think it's a little bit wild west, or can be chaotic, because if you don't have the overview who turned which wheel, you can't say this was an improvement, or this was an improvement, or that worked, or the other topic didn't work. And so I think it's one of the big challenges for a company, how to organize it. And it's I think pretty easy if you are a startup with 3 people, or a solopreneur, or somebody who's doing or working with only a few employees. Then you can keep the overview pretty simple. If you have a bigger organization, maybe with various locations, various departments, and then I think you have to find some kind of regulations to do a transformation that is having a direction to one common goal.
Yeah. I agree, but I think so. You mentioned that it is easy in smaller companies, but it becomes more complicated in larger companies. I think that there must be a value for the individual to use it that way. So if AI is becoming something very present in the team, right? And you try to not make this a hurdle for the people, not a blocker. You need to
Mhm.
make it somehow valuable for the people. So how does AI actually serve me personally when I
Mhm.
put time and effort into using it in order to curate something which is then used again for AI for our purposes, right? So I need to see a clear advantage. If I see that I we can do more, we can do it faster, and I'm
Mhm.
now expected that I need to do things faster, I can sense as a human being, oh my God, I run into a burnout. I can't uphold this pace for long, right? So it's a little bit like now we run a marathon, right? But we get bionic legs. Now we can sprint a marathon, right?
Mhm.
It's a little bit like, is it still good for us because now we need to run every day a marathon because we can, but it's not the sense of a we prepare for that. It changes things, right? And it's not like I can run a marathon, but you know what I mean. It's like I think you can, isn't it? I don't know. I am not.
Mhm.
Well, the point is, should we, I think from these perspectives, right, is how can we create something where the humans actually start to improve? Because I to be honest, I don't think that we keep humans as they are and implement AI next to it and suddenly AI is now adopted. I think the adoption of AI means a new evolution of work, which means that we haven't made it as humans to evolution, to have a form of evolution um, that's above the baseline we stuck to. And now we have AI and we can do that, or we actually think we can do that. And I think that changes more than just the workflow. I think it changes the outcome, it changes the reflection part, it changes how we measure things, it changes how others measure us. So
Mhm.
everything changes. And I think that is the biggest issue for leadership. It is, if it would be the biggest issue for me as a team lead to introduce AI, I don't think I'm a team lead because I don't
Yeah.
have power at all. So if I say we try something for 3 months now and people don't do that, this is a total different topic. So
Mhm.
that's basically an incompetence topic of the team itself is not competent enough to actually have leadership and move forward. They just do their stuff, you know. But given that that is possible, so a team can work like that, um, I think the actual hurdle is how can I make AI something which people want to use in their own favor as a team? That question is widely unsolved right now. I think I never saw a actual solution for that because no matter to who I speak, the opinion about AI differs absolutely massive. It's like even people would you think that this person really should like AI is actually saying, I love ChatGPT, I hate to use it for work.
Mhm.
I just use it for other things. And everyone just have a lot of preferences because normally when we introduce a technology back then, companies were introducing that, large and smaller companies, and on some point you were adopting it personally, like Kubernetes or Docker or something like that. It's not like the private people were using that and suddenly the companies were. Chat, or let's say AI, was introduced differently. AI was introduced bottom up.
Mhm.
So before the large companies were using that for their things, all the employees, all the people were using it before the company were using it. And this is in the situation where we are right now. So everyone is already biased and opinionated about how to use AI and basically don't really agree with the company terms.
Yeah.
So there are no company terms really because the team leads are not strong enough to actually create a culture where we say, okay, we now use the same. But then people say that I already have my client, it's convenient. Why should I use a second client which doesn't know about my first client?
Yeah.
already this is a hurdle for many people. It's like, I have a huge database in ChatGPT projects. Now I need to work somewhere else, and all my data is not there, and I need to share, and I'm not allowed to share it between. How does it work? And that is a little bit my problem, what I see there in leadership, that this is the actual hurdle. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. This is one of the big hurdles. I think another one is if you are acting as a leader and you give the employee the impression that you are using AI to control his or review his work, then you can also get into a problem. So if you I think for a review or an optimization loop, this is fine if you can explain it. If you are using it to control it and give the feedback to the employee and say, yeah, there were some mistakes inside and whatever, then it will become a threat to the employee, I think. When I compare it to my history in automotive development, there was in the end of 1990s, I think, around about so-called digital mock-up, very trendy. It was invented then, and you could do a kind of a prototype, but this was digital with the CAD data. And a lot of the engineers were saying, oh, I will be controlled, and if my part doesn't fit into it, I get a problem by my boss. But it's not the fact. So the truth was that it can help to save money. And what can be better if you have a review and you see, oh, I missed to change one corner, or I have to improve this and that. But it's just a matter of how the leaders are dealing with it. If they are coming and say, "Oh, stupid guy, you did mistakes," or if they said, "Okay, let's check it, do a optimization loop, and it will get even better," or we will review it again and say what we keep from the optimization loop, and so. I think it's always being empathic as a leader and involving your team members, your human team members, and I also so I'm not this expert, but I could imagine that also AI will get some kind of emotions in the future, or maybe we'll also have this personal feelings, if you like, the result or not. I don't know, but I could imagine that very well. That
there was a time when half a year ago, when ChatGPT suddenly realized that when you gave it tasks, it was suddenly like really trying to don't do the work. It's like, shall I do this right now? Oh, okay. Then just instead of just doing the entire thing, it was just giving me the updates. And I said, no, give me entire thing. Oh, yeah, I can give you the entire thing. Shall I do that? It's really like trying everything to not do the output thing. I think it was some kind of, they try to save energy or something like that. I don't know exactly what that was, but it was for just a week or something like that. I was like, my God, it behaves like a person who is really not willing to do the work now. It's like, I can't be bothered right now. It's like this. And you really need to come on, do it, right? And I think not emotions, because we cannot recreate emotions as technology people. That's a myth. AI is not the human being. AI is very simple, actually. It's just logical pattern recognition right now. So if we create something like emotions, it's actually miming the emotional patterns we have to simulate something like emotion. So that we be a little bit like that, but it doesn't mean that we don't give it as emotion. That's a different thing, because I don't think we can distinguish really between these two things. I think that AI shouldn't have emotions, in my opinion. Think that I think that, for example, there is what I'm trying to build right now, you know about that, is to find a way to make AI coaching actually possible.
Mhm.
I think it's extremely hard. And right now I came to in lots of conversations, prototyping these kind of things, I get to the conclusion that it is actually not the right thing to try to replicate a human coach as a AI coach. The
Mhm.
actual correct way is to create an assistant which talks to you in the person. It's like the coach would say this and that. Shall I give you a connection to the coach, or I don't really know about how the coach was saying that. Can give you a generic answer how I think you should do that, or you need to contact. So it's a little bit like the coaching assistant of the coach, but not really the coach him or herself, because I really see a problem with what you just mentioned, with emotions, with these kind of things. We try to build something which isn't even capable of getting close to a human being. There is not a we are one step before that in GPT-6. No, it is still an LLM. It is just a pattern
Yeah.
recognition machine for language, nothing more. And so it will never invent something. People say it's hallucinating. It's not, because it's not creative. Hallucination is creativity. And what it
Mhm.
does is it's filling gaps with knowledge it already has. And we see that as, oh, it does hallucinate, but it is just a mirror of the incompetence of our own prompt. Because we think by just sentence, it's intelligent enough. A human assistant would be based on all the knowledge of the company, of the relationship. Like, I just need to say this and that, and the other human already knows what to do. The AI doesn't work like that. The AI works on its own trained language model, and that's it. And we can provide prompt stuff, right? A lot of it, but there's a problem. Try to give a worldview of you in text form.
Mhm.
You will need to write more books, thick books, to actually get a rough idea. And
Mhm.
that is absolutely not working with AI. So you need to condense it, which makes it impossible, because that's not a worldview. That is just a summary of you as a personality.
Mhm.
So that is the issue, which I think we shouldn't treat AI as employees. So the idea
Yeah.
of I have an AI employee is wrong. Just to say that to everyone. It is a tool. Please treat it like that. It will never be, even with AGI, it is very unlikely that we see AGI in the near future. So general AI, which is supposed to work like a human, because we are not even close to an improvement in the LLMs. So why do we think about AGI right now while everyone is optimizing for LLMs?
Mhm.
It doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
So I think the best way to adopt it is, as a leader, no matter in tech, is to accept what it is, a tooling, and implement that as an extremely highly advanced tooling chain instead of a replacement for humans. That would be my approach at that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Can you imagine that there will be a time in future when an AI solution becomes a leader of a team with also humans inside?
No, no, I can't.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm really getting deep into. I know
Mhm.
most of the models in the behavior really well. I know how to build databases that actually AI can query larger amount of data in form of recs, something like that. And in those kind of technologies, there is nothing in there which actually simulates the judgment of a human being. And
Mhm.
leadership is mostly about judgment. It is mostly
Yeah.
about understanding the subtext in conversations. It's mostly about, so when we ask, that's the issue. When we ask, let's stay with ChatGPT. Everyone knows ChatGPT, right? So if we ask ChatGPT about, you look, that person said this to me, or is an argument with the other person, what shall I do? And it starts to give you advice that looks like, oh, this actually could solve the issue if it would be just able to speak to each other in form of an agent. What we would
Mhm.
see there is actually some form, that is what we should be afraid of most, because we then would create basically a predecessor for Skynet. We would create a a logic instance which is purely based on logic and makes decision based on logic in a team which is mainly driven by emotions. That is not a good idea. So the reason is, so we could build an agent probably this year. So if we really like to, we could build something like Cloud Code or Clause or something like that, and put that into a team, and per contract, people need to do what the AI is telling them to, right? The AI knows the basic law and these kind of things. That is technically possible, but that would never lead to a team which says, oh, that's a good idea. We now have an artificial leader. So that's the basic idea of technocracy, I think. And I think that humans are definitely not made for this. So if you cannot get real team leads to emerge everywhere, I don't think that the LLM is a good replacement for that. It is actually the opposite. It will degrade it even further, because the problem is not the team lead. The problem is the people. Let's say the teams themselves believe to be, they need to be more individuals. We have a tendency to become more and more individuals, less large companies. So the idea of of huge hierarchies and teams and team sports and these kind of things, they are fading, and we have more isolated solonists, even in companies. So they just want to work for themselves, leave the company anyway in half a year, go to the next one. It's a little bit like freelancing. So that kind of things I see very often right now. And the AI doesn't help that. The AI doesn't help to get the people together. And I think just a long story, because I don't think that works at all. What do you think about that? I was talking so much.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think a bad leader can be replaced by AI more easy than a good leader. So if you're living leadership, you have empathy, you have a good relationship to the people you are leading, and if you are and not living leadership, and you are only fulfilling the requirements, doing some reports to your boss, and getting the directives to the people, then maybe it can work a little bit. But then we are not talking about leadership. It's more like management, or management by or directive management, or however you call it.
Dispatching, actually. So you dispatch orders and automate them to a degree.
Yeah, but even that, I remember an engineering company who did their capacity planning or resource planning automated, and the teams were distributed worldwide, and this tool didn't really take care of the mother tongues, and also the let's say the cultural specifica of the employees. And if you're developing a whole vehicle, you can imagine that there are some 3-digit numbers of team volumes or head counts, and if a tool is just checking, we have one resource there and another resource there, and this doesn't match, and so this project, I think it was 8 years ago, or a little bit longer in the past, and this didn't work very well. And but I think it can be used as an assistant, that you get some proposals to have it more neutral, or just to exclude a little bit the human factor. Then maybe it can help. But I think in the at least in the closer future, it will be only serving as kind of assistant or partner or sparrings partner or for reflection, for example.
So, but as I hear a little bit in your saying, in your voice, that you would looking forward for having AI as a leader. So it's a little bit like you would like to see it, or is it, or do I get it wrong?
No. I don't look forward to have it as a leader. I think it can assist the leader in several topics. But my understanding of leadership is a very human-centric approach. I personally say, if you don't or if you are not able to love people, then you don't you shouldn't serve as a leader, because the basis is to have a good relationship, to have a deep relationship and a trustful relationship to the people, and establish this in both directions. And so I'm definitely propagating human as a leader, and no tool or no bot or whatever. And but I think also there's a big difference between a true leader and just a box in the org chart. And so if the box in the org chart doesn't promote the people below in the org chart, then at least some of his daily jobs can be replaced by AI or by some tools or processes.
I agree. So specific tasks, jobs, right, can be replaced. But if your job is that simple in a company, that it can be replaced by a machine who is doing repetitive things with low level intelligence at this point, and absolutely not required any form of emotional intelligence, something like that. I think that we are living in an era anyway, before AI already, where these kind of jobs were going anywhere. So anyway, away. It's a little bit like so in software technology, people had make the joke about plumbing. It's like, just become a plumber. It's a more safe job than the actual software developer. The point is, plumber is not an easy job. You know, so plumber is like making a coffee. Sounds stupid, but the AI fails at some kind of this is basically a sibling test to the Turing test. Send an AI into a kitchen and let it make a coffee, a specific coffee, right? So the AI will most likely fail in that and will do pretty much not really get to the point of making the coffee like a human would be. So that process wouldn't convince a human that this is a human. It would be absolutely nonsense what happens there. And the same is with these kind of things. The point is, somehow it is easier for an AI to use, like Cloud Code, for example, to build software than it is to repair your sink. Right? Because a sink is unique. The problem on the sink is unique. The environment is unique. Where you get the parts is unique. What kind of tools you have is unique. Your skill set is unique. What you're allowed to do is unique. The laws, there are so many things. So what I want to say is, plumbing is actually very hard to replace by AI. While everything which is repetitive, based on patterns, and that's the big thing we have in tech right now, where there are still CTOs say that is something where people say that we will be replaced, right? I think that software engineering, for example, for me, always integrated the product part, the users. I create something, I test it, users, I get feedback, I improve that. I can't do that. There's way too much emotional stuff in between, relationship stuff, social stuff, and these kind of things. The AI can do and does it for me, code the stuff. So I don't need to code myself anymore. That is reality and it works fine, absolutely fine, right? So of course, not like vibe coding. So not like just wishing something and the AI is doing that. So you're still engineering. So you still need the experience you have, but you use the experience to make sure that the AI is doing what it's supposed to do, and you don't need to type it, which moves that bottleneck. And it removes stress as well, because you can focus more on the entire cycle instead of actually how to write the function now. That's not your issue anymore. You just need to review it, which is a fast thing, right? So that's the task which can be replaced. But I don't see in near future that AI is replacing anything else from the relationships, these kind of things, because humans, especially the clients we work with in Germany, we yesterday got a new testimonial from a German company in Eastern Germany, and a very fine one, but that the entire testimonial was absolutely not about any form of coding. It was only about the relations, the communications, the motivation, the ownership, these kind of things, right? So you really worked together with us on that problem. You really digged into, you became part of us. It's all human. That is not replaceable. That is what creates the actual bond between companies. And AI is simply not in 10 years, not in 20 years, able to replace that at all. That is the reality. And I don't see it as a technical person who's working every day with AI deeply, not just using ChatGPT, I'm using from the other side as well. And I don't see it, right? That's the point.
Yeah. Okay.
What does it mean now? So maybe as a conclusion for leadership is, let's focus using it as you mentioned bots. You gave the idea for the title, humans and bots. And I think that's a very good one, because a bot is not a human. A bot is a bot. A bot is a robot. It's a short for robot. And a robot is not even thought of being intelligent. A robot is a machine, which is, you know that from the automotive, there are robots assembling cars for 20 years already, right? Or longer even. So that is not high tech. That is it's normal tech these days, right? So high tech would be an intelligent version of that one. But bots are what AI is actually for us. It looks like a very intelligent thing, but it isn't. It's just a language thing. So if we use it as a team, as what it is, a tool which helps us, that makes sense in leadership. To promote this, to tell the people that you are still in charge, please take the ownership, and I help you as a facilitator to take the ownership to shape those tools for us. Now that we have sharper tools, right, to actually make a bigger outcome or create bigger outcome. But this is not a replacement, and this is why. So, my opinion, the leader needs to understand AI much more than the regular people do. It's not like far beyond ChatGPT, right? And then it makes sense, because then you can start to explain AI is not a threat, AI is a tool, and let's adopt it because the competition is doing so as well. So let's, I helped another team with really getting into the idea of, there was one team in a company, and they had no mission. They felt like, oh, they're ticket-driven thing and these kind of things. What really helped that team was to give them a mission to become the best team in the company. So it's like a football competition. And this is how people actually get motivated and take ownership and try to work together. And then they adopt AI as their multiplier for this. But if they see AI as the actual task, it's like, oh, it's the next task. Yeah, maybe I can do that tomorrow. So it's like there is no value in it for them. We need to think like a leader is, in some cases, an entrepreneur as well. How do I make the person liking what they do, actually, in order to make business?
Yeah.
I'm waffling, sorry.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree that a leader has to understand what's possible with AI, and he also has to absolutely have a transparent communication to the team how it will be used. And then I think there won't exist this anxiety. And I yeah, this so the human factor is still the success factor. You can multiple it with AI or the usage of AI, but in a sensible way.
Good. How can people reach you?
They can reach me via my website or via my social media profiles. Happy to receive some feedback, or if somebody has a question, please don't hesitate to approach me and contact me directly.
I just get the site into the chat.
Yeah, thanks.
So that's how you can reach Kai. Kai is a leadership coach. Is it correct to say leadership coach? I think so.
I don't like the word coach so intensely. I'm acting more as a sparrings partner to bring in my experience. I experienced a lot which tools or which methods worked and which not, and so I'm happy to work with entrepreneurs or leaders to avoid that they get also bloody noses where I caught some. So yeah.
It's the same what I do as a fellow. So I don't like to coach. Call myself a coach. People say that, yeah, you're coach. Actually, I don't have a coaching system. I don't have something like that. I have different practices, a set of practices I use for myself and I try to help others with.
Yeah.
And that is more or less something I take out when I see it's necessary there. But it's not like, let's start with the program. So what I will do is a mastermind this year, a Stoic mastermind. I've done that already, but not as a Stoic version, because interestingly, in the era of AI, people feel that they lose control over those. And Stoicism seems to be something people are listening to right now, because that is actually all about getting back into control and self-discipline. And I think that's one of the things where people need to get up again. And that really works together very well with the fellowship aspect. So fellowship is more like mentoring for a group or a person, very ongoingly than coaching itself. And I think a little bit as well that coaching is oversaturated. That is another aspect. So I don't think that coaching in a tech team, for example, is always the best thing. You can do that, but first you should start to get clarity where you are, what you need to do. And it's not like starting with a coaching thing. You can do that, but that is the best results were when people already brought some discipline into something, and then you could go from there instead of getting the people to start to move somehow. That is more motivational work, which is possible, but for many companies a waste of time, because that is actually the job of the team lead, to bring the people to the point and say, we're going to do something, let's get one who's helping us to facilitate and navigate that, but we need to do it ourselves. That's the absolute best way, in my opinion, with the best results, right? And do that forever and have like longer breaks in between and say, we need to go a little bit the way, and then we want to navigate again. That's how things work very well for me.
Absolutely, I agree. And my approach is also to get results as fast as possible, and not doing sessions to inspire somebody, some coaches or whatever. And inspiring is something like, it's great to read this post from somebody, and it inspired me that much. But I still do the same what I did yesterday. And so I'm very result orientated, and this brings in much more value to my customers than doing coaching sessions or talking about some books I read or whatever. So
active reflection helps so much. So this morning when I was driving to the office, I had a phone call with a mentee like buddy, so it's a little bit like that's a form of mentoring actually, and it was about the Mirror book. I have a digital version now for that, which I will release this week um, as a Git repository, so people can use it in combination with the PKMS. I have
Mhm.
promoted in a stream before, and he was actually using it already and asking me, "Can you help me? Do I actually understand it correctly?" So first of all, I saw that I have not really explained the points correctly in the digital version. So it's a little bit different than the manual version I personally use. And we went through that. So it was an active way of very unique to the specific situation. I have write that into that. Is that actually correct signal? So it is not a correct signal. What you have written down is to do. So you won't be able to do this and that. So I really help to understand what is the issue there, what is your outcome, what can you improve for yourself. The point was, I didn't say, let's get into a meeting and discuss my last stream. It was like, he was calling me, like, I have a question. I have something. Help me, right? And that's the point. So there is an inner motivation already in that person. If that is not there, it is extremely hard to help someone become a successful person, because
Mhm.
that is, as a Stoic, I know I can only control myself. I cannot control the motivation inside another person. I can maybe influence that a little bit. This is what I do with my content, and that's it.
Mhm.
If someone is, getting onto that, great. If not, I don't try it,
Yeah.
because that is absolutely a waste of time. So everyone who's listening to that, who is interested in doing something and it thinks that I actually have to drive, but I don't know how, get to one of us. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
That's my
But
opinion.
maybe this could be a topic for one of our next streams. So no AI, just human, and motivation versus identity, and so
There are endless topics. So
yeah,
just keep it as a fireside chat. But that's actually an interesting one.
yeah.
How do I actually get into these kind of things, right? How to become a person learning every day to become a better person, practicing. So real practice, real discipline, the meaning of discipline, not the hustle mentality, but the mentality of, that is my discipline. So it's my discipline to become better in what I do. And how do I know that I'm getting better? So start to reflect, start to, in some form, journal, right? In
Mhm.
my opinion, without journaling, it is very hard to do that, because how shall you know what happened in the last 2 weeks if you don't write it down anywhere? It is a little bit like, I, I can't do that myself without that.
Mhm.
So people can. I'm doing a lot of content as well, so where I reflect. But for the typical person who is not creating content, who's not listening to their own words all day long, like I'm doing with transcripts or something like that, you don't really think about the things you have done. And if you don't do that, you don't build upon them. You
Mhm.
build upon whatever you do in the future, but not of about basically on the learnings you have done right now. Gold nuggets you could
Yeah.
take out of it, but you have never done that. You just say, oh, the meeting is over Friday, forget it, Monday. And you absolutely forget on Monday, or forgot on Monday what happened on Friday. So it was actually a wasted time, the meeting. So use it to make something out of it, instead of just sitting there and saying, oh, finally it's weekend, let's forget the week. That
Mhm.
is so wrong. That is the time where you should take the most important aspects of the week into the next week. And that is what you need to do on Friday, not on Saturday, not on Sunday, on Friday. If you don't have time on Friday, it's okay on weekends, but do it. It's like the Chinese saying that the best time to plant a tree is today, the second best. No, it was 30 years ago. The second best is today. Sorry. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good. So thanks
Good.
a lot for your time.
Thank you, Adrian. Thanks to the audience, and yeah, good second half of the week to everybody.
I constantly think it's Thursday. I don't know why. It's a little.
Yeah,
it's Wednesday, but
yeah,
it becomes it feels like spring already. So we should enjoy that a little bit. That I don't need to do my sport in cold winter days anymore. And now finally we have sun again. Isn't that
yeah,
great? And by the
absolutely.
way, if anyone is listening, this month is Cloudfest in Germany next to your park. I will be
Mhm.
there. because my office is in front of it. So I will definitely be there. So if you want to meet up or something like that, I will be there. Just give me a hint. I will post about that as well. Just wanted to say that.
Cool. Great.
Thanks. And see you next week.